I'm going to call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda. Any additions or corrections?
I would put on their discussion, we just talked to Rick Frank about having some discussion with the vacancies for the planning commission and stuff. We got several names coming forward and we may have to discuss.
Want to add
some
that to
options.
discussion items?
Yeah, number 6. And then Rick had asked if he could be just notified just to be in when we talk about that. So I don't know, Char, maybe after our last appointment, just give Rick an email or call.
He's right here now, so.
Yeah, were you going to go back to your office or are you going to stick around?
No, I'll go back.
Okay,
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 we'll
we'll get you.
Yes.
Yep, thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from last week.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment period. Reminder, no personal attacks. Anybody wish to address the board this morning?
Good morning. My name is Sue Van Gorp from Yucatan Township. I have lived in several Minnesota counties in my lifetime and have come to this conclusion. Reality is different in Houston County. Law enforcement's philosophy appears to be do as I say, not as I do. Police should be held to a high standard of behavior. They should set an example instead of showing disregard for the laws they expect the citizens to obey. Serve and protect the public, not yourselves. Whistleblowers are not praised for their courage. To the contrary, whistleblowers in Houston County are fired, commit suicide, or have bogus legal charges brought against them. There's no real interest in democracy here, evidenced by this 120-second soundbite allowing no citizen input at the ordinance writing meetings, and several commissioners attempting to stop the public input period at the commissioner meetings. A Houston County employee with significant boundary issues who shows unrelenting favoritism to one citizen at the expense of others, is not truthful at public forums, and tells tall tales in court, is protected. Elected officials say no, no, no to name calling, but call fracks and opponents indecent jerks. The Houston County planning and zoning process is filled with cronyism, deceit, and self-interest instead of representing the common good and protecting our environment. A sheriff's deputy can harass, intimidate, and make false accusations against citizens that don't agree with him. In most locales, that behavior would be considered an abuse of power, but not here. Reality is different in Houston County. Thank you.
Brian Van Gorp, Yucatan Township. You all received a letter including a list of permit violations at the Erickson mine, many of which occurred since the renewal permit by this board. Bob Scanlon received a copy of this same letter. He responded a day after receiving it, saying he had done a complete investigation and there was no violations. This is a copy of his letter. Obviously, he could not have done an investigation in that amount of time. Equally obvious is the fact that if he had done any investigating, he could not have reached this false conclusion. Here's a Google Earth map showing that the only road in and out of that mine is entirely within the 50-foot setback of the Erickson's property. Here's a picture showing actual mining activity within that 50-foot setback. He could also just have driven by at 55 miles an hour and seen this to be true. You might believe that these would constitute evidence anywhere except at the Houston County Planning and Zoning Office. This is not going to go away just because Bob doesn't want to deal with it. What is your accountability for this repeated refusal to do his job even after being investigated for not fulfilling his responsibilities? Scanlon's long history of lying about these violations and his continued cover-up show that any ordinance in this county is reduced to the value of toilet paper.
I just think this is
That's-
getting into personal attacks. And that's our policy. We don't allow personal
These are
attacks.
facts, these are not personal attacks.
Well, excuse
Yes.
me,
That
but
is
they
all,
are.
Professional attack.
that is all it is worth if you commit to zero enforcement, toilet paper. You wonder why we get angry.
I just
Well,
think that-
anger is
This
the
is-
appropriate
Your
response
time is up.
to people who spit on the truth and
That's
deny
enough.
evidence.
Please.
Yes, let's control the discussion and prevent citizen input.
Good morning, Michael Fields, Winnebago Township. Say, the Skyline Materials mine in Winnebago Township has operated without a permit for years. It has posted no bond or paid any county fees as far as I can determine. Yet it has been granted, 2, 3, I don't know how many, county contracts because they're the low bidder. Maybe there's a connection between having an unregulated mine and having the low bid because your overhead's a little lower. Maybe we should not reward people who are not following the rules. Your own land use attorney, Jay Squires, admits that no mine is exempt from regulation. Why does this mine seem to be exempt from regulations? Commissioner Show-Me, since this mine is located in your district, I'm asking that you get to the bottom of this and also find out why Skyline Materials has not complied with the Board of Adjustment order to fix that setback violation. And it's been years. They've had plenty of time. And I think this is probably things you need to know anyway. On another topic, to admit that one may have been mistaken is a sign of strength, not weakness. It shows that you're secure enough to take a hit or two without feeling that your very existence is threatened. If the board has information that refutes what I have learned about frac sand mining, it should share that information with the public, and then I will write a letter to the editor admitting that I was wrong. Because right now, geologists, biologists, medical doctors, economists, the DNR, even an ethicist, all agree that frac sand mining is a bad deal for all except the very few who would profit from it. So if you can show that they've got it all wrong, that would sure be swell. And if you can't do that, then you certainly shouldn't inflict it on us. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bruce Chemical from Caledonia. Today I'm requesting a Minnesota Data Practices Act from your zoning department as per the Houston County Zoning Ordinance of December 2009, currently revised this year. Section 0110.2708 Reclamation Plan, Subdivision 1 Reclamation Plan required, quote, any mining operation legally commenced prior to the enactment of this ordinance that does not have an approved reclamation plan shall submit a reclamation plan to the planning agency for review and approval within 5 years of the date of the enactment of this ordinance. And that occurred, I believe, at the end of December of 2009. Accordingly, that would mean that by December 31st of 2014, the Planning and Zoning Department should have on file a 2-column listing of those mines and quarries which have complied with the current county law and those who are out of compliance. There may be a 3rd column categorizing these mines and quarries which have been out of operation for several years. That would be a cessation of said operations, and those conditional use permits should be reapplied for under Minnesota Statute 394.36 nonconformities, and possibly under Houston County Zoning Ordinance Section 1102712, Subdivision 3. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Ken Jumper from La Crescent Township. Good to see all of you again. Commissioners, I want to focus my comments on the draft ordinance that the Frac Sand Study Committee completed a couple years ago. In listening to the previous comments this morning, what is striking is the parallel approach that you Commissioners have taken in each of the examples mentioned. There certainly seems to be a pattern of secrecy, manipulation, and deception that the other speakers today have highlighted in their remarks. When it comes to zoning in general and mining specifically, clearly, Commissioners, some of you have an agenda that justifies any kind of manipulation and any kind of information or the dismissal of any kind of questionable action by a county employee. I often think of the court hearing on the Erickson Quarry when your attorney, Jay Squires, said, in response to the revelation that both he and Bob Scanlon had informed the Ericksons in writing that the permit had expired, quote, "Well, that was privileged communication." My question is, since when is the truth privileged information? The letter that we all received from Bob Scanlon recently claiming that he had investigated the complaint of violations at the Erickson Quarry is the same sort of thing. There are no specifics or details of that alleged investigation. And worst of all, the fact that you all received the same letter and don't take action to correct him on it and his other misdeeds says a lot about all of you. The draft ordinance on frac sand mining is predicated on the belief that a strict regulation of this destructive activity through the zoning ordinance is going to occur in the near future. But given the actions of you, the County Board, and the Planning Commission in the recent past in regards to the Erickson mine and the Skyline mine, and the development in secret of the draft ordinance for frac sand mining, why would any reasonable person think that anything is going to be different in Houston County in the near future? Now, Commissioner Storley, before you get upset and fire off another email calling us all jerks, as you did earlier this year, it's
Your
important
time
for
is
all
up,
of you
Ken.
to remember, sooner or later, the truth comes out. Sooner or later, the truth always comes out.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robin Shumper from La Crescent Township. I have just two fairly brief comments. First, I want to address what's been discussed here, and I want to stand up a little bit for Brian Van Gorp. He did not say anything personal about Bob Scanlon. He called the document, your ordinance, toilet paper. That is not a personal attack. And just because you don't like what somebody is saying doesn't mean that they don't have the right to speak. The second thing I want to talk about is that I noticed on the agenda that you're discussing the proposed Selco contract. I'm the La Crescent representative on the Selco board and currently the Selco board president. And I would just encourage you to support Selco in the highest amount you possibly can. Houston County is actually below the average of all counties in the Selco area, and I think that that's really shameful, and I think that we need to support our libraries a little bit more carefully. Commissioner Walter, I know you are the former representative for La Crescent, and I appreciate that, and I know you know how important this contract is. So I just encourage you all to support it to the highest amount you possibly can. Thank you.
Any other comments to come before the board? Before we have Brian come up, Mr. Yant, would you like to introduce yourself?
Samuel Yant, I'm the county attorney-elect for Houston County. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Brian.
Morning, Commissioners. We had a bid opening a week ago for project SP 028-599-077. It's for a bridge replacement on Charlie Drive in Sheldon Township. This bridge has been in the works, been scheduled to be replaced in 2016. Has 2016 federal funds to be tied to go along with it. Although when we got out there this spring, we saw that the abutment had tipped in 7.5 inches over 4 feet. So the bottom's pushing in. So we've been inspecting it basically weekly for the last several months. So we've been advised to try to get this replaced as soon as possible, get the traffic off this bridge. Our most recent inspection shows that the abutment's tipped in now 9 inches over 4 feet. So for the bid, we had 4 bidders. The low bid was Icon Constructors. Their bid amount was was for $318,977. The engineer's estimate was $427,391.40, so it's about 25% under the estimate. And the second lowest bid was $427,000, so they were, way under the other bids. I'm going to recommend that the board approves Icon to go out there and start work on the project. What they would like to do is, what we're requiring is that they build the bypass right away this fall, and then they'll probably do the bridge next spring when the weather allows. So,
And they can do that still, I mean, even with the weather, as far as, or is that gonna be a factor
yeah,
here?
if they can't get, we're going to get it in one way or another.
Okay.
Whether ideally you strip topsoil off, you put your rock down, you build up and stuff. You might need to do other types of adjustments to make it happen. The reality is that we don't want to have the township plow across that bridge all winter. We don't want to have the traffic going across it if we can get them off. And the other thing is that we don't want to be out there inspecting it every week throughout the winter. It's just too tough to get a good look at that bridge all winter long.
So is this going over a dry run, or is there a creek there? Or what?
It's a trout stream.
Trout stream. So do you have to put in how do you do that then? Is it like box culverts and then you go over the top, or how do you keep it from interfering?
It's either going to be 2 6-foot metal culverts, otherwise maybe 1 8-foot culvert that'll be in for the bypass. And then we'll build the bridge, and then once the bridge is in, we'll take the bypass back out.
I see. So it won't really affect the trout stream too much by doing that?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but we've been working with the DNR, because typically between October 15th and October 15th and April 15th, you need to stay out of the trout stream.
Sure.
But because of the condition of the bridge and the safety issues, by potentially leaving this bridge open all winter, the DNR has given us permission to build the bypass.
Cool.
Where's Icon from?
Icon is, I think they're based out of Chatfield.
Okay.
It's former Minowa employees are the ones that own the company, and a lot of their staff left, so now we have essentially Minowa's, just 2 different competing companies with the same employees or previous employees.
Good for us, a little competition when you
Yes.
bring it down.
Yep.
Cool. So you just need approval for the,
To award the contract to Icon.
okay, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, thank you.
Barry, you're up a little early.
You are early. Good morning, Commissioners.
Thank you.
I found this outside.
Oh, did you? You can have it. We have a bazillion of them. Yeah. You got yours. Thank you.
Actually, I do too. I already have
Okay.
a copy, so.
All right. Thank you. Hope I didn't give away mine. We are kind of expecting a few more of our staff. They were invited to come this morning too. So you'll probably see them. They were thinking this was at 9:30, but that's okay.
You want us to wait, Barry?
We
No,
can do
but-
some other things if you're waiting.
If you wouldn't mind, that'd be great.
We can
Yeah,
do that.
Yeah, okay.
Let's go on with the consent agenda, Section 8 vouchers by county report.
Yeah, move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Maybe, well, unfinished business, Fransac issue. Actually, we're gonna have the board, not the board, the study group and our mediator come to next week's, they're on the agenda for next week to give an update on the draft. So, did you have anything you wanna add, Justin?
No, that's pretty much sums it up.
It's
so.
up for next week.
And we'll have kind of a timeline too that we'll bring together as far as where we're gonna go
Mhm.
next, now that the draft's kind of complete, where we're gonna go for public comment stuff, but it'll be discussed at length next week.
Yeah. Highway Department, we did go on a tour last week, and I think that Justin and Steve are gonna be meeting with Brian, right, to kind of go through and talk about next steps.
Mhm.
That's what I understood anyway. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, we will add when the meeting occurs, but yeah, we'll get something together and see where we go from here.
Of the 3 buildings we saw last week, I thought the MnDOT probably was the most
Yeah.
informative one
Yeah,
for us.
yeah, it was good, it was simple. It was nice to see how the other
And you
people
have
do
200
things
trucks
too,
for
you know.
Caledonia haulers that were, it's all
Yeah.
of our
That was
meeting.
impressive.
Yeah, it was fun to see though, you know, the other
Yeah.
businesses and what they're doing, but yeah, the
Yeah.
MnDOT building was good, so,
Right.
excellent.
And I don't know if there's anything on the courthouse or jail issues at this time? We can-
No, and I know a lot of you got the email that I forwarded on, or just trying to keep everybody in the loop. At some point in time, we'll have to, figure out what we're gonna do. So if you guys do get emails from people or something, let everybody else know and
Yeah, I
bring
think
them
we
in.
should
and-
compile them, and
Yeah.
we need to get a copy of the survey that was done
Yeah.
online.
And Judy, was that the EDA they were gonna do, they had the, yeah, that was the online one that they didn't have, right? We did the one from the fair. I knew we
Right.
still- Yeah, that is done though, or do you know what?
Yeah, we
it is?
get that report.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep, good.
so we're, it's all documented, what
Good.
kind of reports we've gotten in. I mean, do you want, do you guys want EDA to take it on, or and do a recommendation, or do you want us to work at it?
You
But
know-
somebody needs to be working at it so that we're getting somewhere.
Might be a good EDA project.
You know, and I hate to committee things to death by all means, but you know, having the the Houston County Historical Society, maybe having some of those people involved, some of the EDA, and just maybe get a few people to sit down and with some commissioners and say, okay,
Yeah.
how are we gonna, what are we gonna do, and how's it gonna, you know, I don't know, but
I think
at
that's
some
a
point
good
it's gonna be
idea.
addressed here soon. so.
Yeah, and, we won't know grant-wise what we can get because we're not in the loop
Oh,
of
the cycle, yeah.
Right, but I think that we should at least look at, making a decision as far as mothballing it until we decide, so that we're not doing everything else, and see how much it would cost to mothball it.
What's everybody's thoughts? There's a lot of things going on in the next month, obviously, holidays and stuff like that, after the first of the year.
I think
Maybe
that's
take
a
this
good
and
idea.
have a lengthy discussion of what we're gonna do, does that sound all right?
Yes.
Sometime in
And
January.
maybe we should start our stuff by, at that time, we could have a report on what it
Yeah.
would cost to
Yep.
mothball it.
Yep.
I think that someone would have to contact the Historical Society.
Mhm.
And then we also should get some quotes as to what it would cost to tear it down.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true, and just
You know,
weigh
because we
apples to
need to
apples.
come from both sides of this.
Yeah, like, because it's on the National Register, we'll have to know what the process really is too.
Right.
I don't think you can
Yes.
just up and tear it down. Take
So
some
I mean,
bids.
there's a lot of research that we need to do,
Mhm.
even before we can start having discussion on it.
Mhm. Yep, yeah, we'll maybe get that ball rolling.
Come January.
Yeah,
but we need
after
to
we
get
get
some
all
of
the
this going
stuff,
ahead of time.
yeah. Because by then, yeah, that works.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we could
Kind of
even,
note that, Char, maybe?
Yep.
we could maybe even talk to Sam and see what kind of resources he has as EDA to connect with anybody. I
Okay.
go towards Sam for Whitehead as far as connecting and seeing what we would need to do to mothball it and those kind of things. Is that appropriate use of Sam's time? We need to
Until
find
we
out how
decide.
much it's gonna cost. We need to find out some costs involved instead of just sitting here doing nothing. And you know.
We can get you call in an estimate, someone find out who was called last time, and get an update on the quote, because there was a previous.
There was a
quote.
quote before on mothballing it?
Not mothballing it, raising it.
Okay.
Tearing it down.
I could find out what it really means to mothball it beyond what we're currently doing. I mean, we have, everything has been greened,
Right.
everything, and we have minimal heat, and it's inspected. You know, as far as walkthroughs and air circulation, I'm not certain we have to do much more than that, but I will, we can.
Does somebody regularly walk through the building now? Like, is it a schedule?
Yes, we do. We inspect the
And
building,
is-
we inspect the heat, we inspect the air. We have regular walkthroughs, certainly not daily because it's not required, but we do that. John and I have met on that. John and I it's on our calendar of things to discuss in our meetings. But I can certainly provide you with a answer these questions, and I want to make sure that I wasn't paying attention at the time. I didn't realize that was your kind of discussion. I want to make sure I understand you need an updated quote on an estimate on the cost of raising it. Assure that if we modify the criteria, whether or not we need to address the fact that it's on the National Register, which, by the way, I believe when I can call Mr. Herkovitz, he was here previously addressing the board. They indicated that there were no impediments to raising the building from it being on the National Register, but I will verify that and I will provide in writing for you. What was the other? Were there any other items that you?
No, we're just going to be looking at it in January, so if we could get that information before that time, so we have a little more knowledge of what we're discussing.
And I will also, I met with Sam and I talked this morning, but we talked on grants this morning, and we're updating the calendar of grants and grant deadline calendar, getting that from the state, but I will see what other grants might be appropriate and available to the county if it chooses not to raise the facility, and what that might entail.
We just need the material put together before January, or
My
January.
understanding, just for general information, the last time, and I didn't gather this information, and I haven't verified it, so, but I am told by, if I'm remembering correctly, that there was a general estimate of approximately $90,000 to $100,000 to raise the building when they were looking at that previously, looking at construction of the new Justice Center. I'm not sure what all that means, if there's salvage rights associated with that, et cetera, but I will find out.
Yeah, I think that that's something we need to know, because if somebody can salvage and make money off the salvage of it, then we shouldn't have to pay to as much to get it.
There will still be a cost associated with it, but you're correct, it offsets it, or hopefully offsets it. Would there, and if you think of anything else,
We'll let you know then.
just pop me an email so I can put it together for you. But I will work with Sam on the grant portion to see if there's where he might be with regards to that.
Okay. All right, Mary. Looks like your team is here.
We are. So I'm going to do the departmental review here.
Oh, excuse me.
Wrong team.
Different team, thank you.
That's okay. What I brought and put forward to you today is kind of a document that I guess it's something that's over the last, I don't know, 20-some years of being in the public service business has always seemed like a really great idea to bring forward to our policymakers, and that is kind of a year-end departmental review. It's an opportunity to visit with our policymakers and do a look back as well as kind of a look forward and a plan of what we really are going to be leaning into during 2015 and 2016. What I would preface this with is that this document really is not about me, it's about us and the work that we've done together, accomplished, and as well as the work of us moving forward. So I just want to make sure that, you know, our staff, every day they come and knock it out of the park, day after day after day, for our county constituents, our policymakers, our department heads, and it really is a privilege to be able to sit in this chair with that group of folks. They are tremendous. So again, this is about us, this isn't about me, and this document is a working document. It would be my intention to provide something, an annual update to the board, so that they really can, as you think about doing performance reviews and appraisals, that you have a really good idea of what is happening internally within our department. So would just like to go through this and highlight some things to you to take a look at. And obviously I'm not going to sit here and read the whole document to you. You can do that on your own. But there are things in here that I think are noteworthy and worth paying attention to. And the first thing really I would just call your attention to is the cover page, which is our new logo that we developed this year, as well as our new tagline, Partnering for Health Every Person Every Day. That was something that came up through the ranks that our staff worked on, and we're pretty proud of that. So the next page, we just, again, revisit our mission statement, our vision elements, and our core values. This was some work that was done before I came. Staff spent lots of time in conversations about really what are our values, what are we here to do, what are we here not to do. And I think we've given a kind of a really brief description here of what it is that we provide and what it is that we're targeting. We're really looking at our essential programs and services that basically help protect and improve the health of our community. And we are very interested in making it a safer and healthier place for people to work, live, and play. We also believe that we've worked hard to bring value to the general levy fund dollars that we receive from the county, as well as the dollars that we receive from third-party reimbursements, as well as our grants and our state subsidies. What we really are about in public health is primary prevention. We're really interested in getting upstream before any of the issues occur. That is what we are about. So one of the things that I do want to call your attention to, and I realize here that after this got bound, that I use the acronym PSE, which stands for Policy, Systems, and Environment. And that is a business model and a business framework that comes actually from the Department of Health that we really look at as far as moving forward in any of our programs and services. The belief really is, and the framework is that you have to have policy first, you have to have systems in place second that support the policy, and then third, you have to have the environment. And there's all kinds of best practices and research that has been done that supports that when you have those three things in place, that is what makes your programs, your services, and activities sustainable over time. So it's an important thing that I do want to point out as we think about implementing new programs and services. That is what we're looking at. We're operating under that business model of PSE. The next page is just our departmental structure. You have to kind of use a microscope to look at that one. Sorry that that got so small. But nonetheless, the numbers are there, and they put on your readers. We've also given you kind of the annual FTEs, a look back, kind of a trend from 2010 all the way to what we're anticipating in 2015. You can see that our staffing certainly has not grown. We kind of dip back and forth between a position or two over the last 4 years, anticipating into 5. We are going to be making a case probably either in December or the first part of January and looking at bumping up perhaps a part-time nurse position. We're really trying to get a handle on what this whole MnChoices is bringing kind of to the table. But there would likely be some reimbursement from the state involved with that. On the next page, we just want to highlight and talk a little bit about program services and deliverables. This is basically a look back over the last year. And I would also say that it's not an exhaustive list. These are kind of the highlights of the things that we've been involved in. I would just highlight a few of the things. Many of these you have been involved in or know about. Under our policy accomplishments, we did, with board approval, adopt our tobacco-free campus grounds at our building at 611 Vista. That happened back in May. We also instituted an internal policy for all of our agency home care clients with regards to prohibiting smoking by clients when our employees are in their homes. That's considered their workspace, and we have an obligation to protect our employees as well. So that happened in March of 2014. We also implemented our, which we considered 2 highly successful paid interns this past summer. And we're anticipating that we're going to be able to do that again in the spring. A lot of value there, a lot of work was done. The next bullet just Again, highlighting ordinance number 5 and the new ordinance number 14 through the whole public hearing process with regards to licensing tobacco and electronic delivery devices. I see now that, okay, no pun intended, but Olmsted finally followed suit and they got theirs done too. So that's a good thing. It's a really good thing as we look at the map of counties, cities, jurisdictions getting in step with particularly protecting against the use of electronic devices. I think we're very pleased and proud to be able to say that we were in the forefront there. Again, moving down to grant accomplishments, just looking again at our Partnering for Health, Every Person, Every Day. And then the last bullet in that section that I would just highlight is the development of our mini grant process with regards to our SHIP, which stands for our State Health Improvement Project Implementation. We awarded 15 mini grants to Houston County partners, and that happened in the Commissioner District, so the dollars were kind of spread out nicely. They are mini grants, but again, believe lots of value there. Our mini grant awardees had to look and had to kind of make a case for our business model of that PSE. So it wasn't just, we're just passing out this dollars. We asked them to address as part of the grant application those 3 things of our framework and our business model. How does this perhaps impact policy, systems, and environment? Our partner accomplishments, again, we resumed some partnerships with our post-secondary educational institutions, Viterbo, UW La Crosse, Winona State, again providing clinical rotations for nursing students and health education majors. And then the last bullet on that page I would just highlight is the partnering with our Neighbors in Action in La Crescent to further develop a volunteer pool. Particularly in this case, we're looking at expanding their volunteerism into the Caledonia area. You've heard me talk some before in the past about we really need to be less about the business of chore services and more about the business of personal cares. And so that is something as we were doing that and moving more out of chore and more into personal cares, we did not want to create a gap. So we're really pleased to be working with Neighbors in Action and believe that we're going to be able to make something happen relatively soon there. Next page, just looking at our community involvement. On the 3rd bullet there, just would like to highlight that we hosted 5 community meetings in each of our commissioner districts with regards to eliciting some public input and comment into our entire community health services plan and priority setting process. We're going to be wrapping that up hopefully by March of 15. It's a big deal, and fortunately we don't have to do it very often, but nonetheless we want to make it meaningful. Long as it's something that is a requirement for community health services agencies. Under the last section there is just staffing, departmental, and financial accomplishments. One that I really would like to highlight is the 4th bullet down with regards to our Minnesota Department of Health certification process. As you recall, and if you've been a board chair, you likely get notified from the Department of Health after we've had an unannounced survey from our friends at the Department of Health with regards to our home care program. They showed up between June 24th and June 27th with really just 2 very, very minor citations with regards to our conditions of participation. And I think a real tribute to staff, and I guess in my almost 30 years of being in this business, I've never seen kind of a regional unit supervisor in the licensing and compliance division comment like this. And the comment was, staff do a great job as an agency and one of the district's top providers in servicing patients in their homes. I think that's a real tribute to staff. And to me, that was incredibly meaningful, and I hope that staff realize what a big deal that is. Bullet number 6 is just, again, we resumed our responsibility for the CHS administration for the remainder of the year. We'll be talking about that later today in our meeting. And the last one is our staff have been busy, and this was something that's been a long time project in the making, but developing student modules for our baccalaureate degreed nurses in the clinical experience rotations in each of our public health program areas. This is kind of a really big deal. Our staff have been really interested in making experiences when nursing students come into the agency really meaningful. We like for them to have some context about our programs and our services, not just, you know, simply show up and observe. We want them to really understand what it is that they're looking at. So that's been a great endeavor as well. The next page is just to give you kind of what we're calling our performance dashboard. It's just a snapshot in time. But this is all of these, and we could give you all kinds of metrics, trust me. You know, we work with the Department of Health. We could give you lots of pages. But these are what we feel. On this particular page, we're talking about activity indicators, just giving you some number and percentages, which really reflects the quantity of the activities that we're delivering. And then on the next page, we talk about some key outcome indicators. And we'll be kind of tracking these over time. Some may fall off, and we may add some as we kind of go along here. But this is all data that's collected from outside of our agency. So it's, I guess in my mind, I would say very pure data. And I guess you know what they say, what gets measured gets done. And so we really are interested in making sure that we provide you know, a snapshot, but not so much detail that you can get lost in that. So that's what this first page is. Nothing unusual there, but it does give you a kind of an idea of the things of just the activity, the actual numbers of some of the things that are being done in the agency. The next page is probably even more as you think about our responsibility to our constituency, and that is our outcome indicators. We've gone back to 2011 and projected out for 2014. Just kind of, again, another snapshot in time of how are things looking. Where are we at with regards to women receiving prenatal care? The HC stands for Houston County, and the MN, of course, is for Minnesota. So you can see kind of where we fall in each of these outcome indicators. We do have some work to do as far as we still have a higher than what we would like percentage of women who are smoking during pregnancy. We also would like to work on this whole idea of Lyme's disease in Houston County. We've been working with a couple of students from Winona State, and we're going to be really figuring, again, going back to looking at that framework, the policy systems and environment framework, as to what is it that we can do to impact and to reduce the incidence of Lyme disease for our county. It is very much of a concern, particularly when we've had some conversations where, you know, the numbers don't look like it's all that stark, but when we'll flip over to the initiatives, and when we talk about this as being a targeted initiative, and the numbers are too high. They're really too high for our population. And there's many, many reasons for that. It's also likely, I guess in my opinion, to be underreported. We know that physicians, clinicians are treating people that are coming in with just symptomology, because there is some question, you know, how valid really are some of the blood work that gets done. And so these numbers likely are very much underreported, but nonetheless, the incidence is high enough that we really do want to take a look at that. On the bottom of the page, I know I need to move it along here, are just, again, the start of our 15 and 16 strategic initiatives. And these really are initiatives that we really want to align with our departmental activities and resources. Some of these are for 15 and some move into 16. For each of those initiatives, we talk about the performance indicator. How are we going to be able to measure that? What's the budget impact? Who's responsible? And when is it that we expect that it will be completed? Just a couple initiatives, and you can read these on your own, but that I do want to highlight for you. The next page, you can see each of those bullets is a different strategic initiative. Again, looking at the top on the next page with regards to our MnChoices implementation. You know, we're not exactly sure how long this is going to take to kind of get a handle on this. It's been pretty burdensome to our existing home care staff in making sure that you know, they're properly and adequately trained, as well as now we're starting to actually do some of these assessments, and they're very, very time consuming, and to say the least, we've had some technical glitches along the way with making sure that we get this information input into the data source correctly. So that's one that we're going to be certainly paying attention to. And I'll just move along. On the next page, we talk about, again, the Lyme disease education on the second bullet, the next page. Our highest annual average incident rate is 54 per 100,000, and that's a trend over time from 91 to 2012. And it is the highest in the Minnesota Southeast District. So we are paying attention to that and looking to see what are those things that perhaps really can impact and reduce the incidence for our constituency.
So you can
And then
just
the
get
last,
rid of the tent.
Yeah, yeah, and that would be great if we could figure out how to do that. And then the last one we're going to be talking about shortly here with Tess is just our employee wellness initiative. We're really looking at, with lots of enthusiasm and excitement about some things that we can do in that area. The next couple pages are just, you know, we're always seems like we're bringing something for you to sign or to talk about with regards to agency grants and contracts. This just kind of gives it to you all in one snapshot here with regards to the program area, the description of the grants, and then our allocation for 2014. We'll continue to track this and give this to you, but a lot of times I think it is confusing for our policymakers. What's the funding source? What is the funding period? Is there a match? Is it required? And actually just give me kind of the bottom line, what is it that each of those grants does? So that's just something, again, FYI for you. And then the last page is just kind of another snapshot in time of our year-to-date budget with regards to 2014. We're in good shape. This is January through September. If you just want to take a look at the bottom line there, the unused allotted levy for the first 9 months is we are $21,000 under what was projected. Our total budget levy for 2014 is at $194,584. So our total public health tax levy is 12% of our total budget. And I think another thing that is also key to kind of see how do we compare side by side with other public health agencies in counties. That bottom little clip there that talks about the average per capita for public health services in Houston County with regards to your levy dollars, to our levy dollars, is $10.32. The national average per capita is between 5 and 11, with the smaller agencies historically higher. And this is information that comes from NACO, from their national profile of local health departments. So we're certainly in the ballpark. We believe that Houston County residents get good value from the services and programs that public health provide. And we are really open if there are programs or services or issues or comments that you would like for us to be paying attention to, that you feel like, boy, we would like it if you would do this, or would you come and talk to us about that? We're totally open to that.
Good job, everyone.
Yes.
I guess.
There were so many times while she was talking, I wanted to
clap.
go.
Yeah. Well, I know from obviously from my perspective as a commissioner, I guess I'll just say that phenomenal job as far as putting together a great document for us to be able to see what's been going on. As a commissioner, sometimes it's hard for us to really get a handle on everything that's happened, things, outlooks, whatever, because we do have to deal with various different departments. So it's nice to be able to have it all condensed in a version in front of us. I guess I could honestly say I think with what you ladies have done with this document, you've probably set the bar for what we're going to expect now from all department heads, which is a good thing. For department head reviews, obviously this year is going to be a little bit tight for people to get it done. But I would like to obviously see some of the other department heads use this model for the 2015 department head reviews, or not department head reviews, department reviews and stuff like that, so that we all have an idea of what's going on in a little bit greater detail. So, very good job. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Good job.
I know. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. All right. I guess that anything else? Would you like to?
We only hear good things about you guys out in the community too. I just want you guys to know that people do appreciate what you do. All good stuff.
They are phenomenal. All right, Tess. So we're next then, huh?
Thank you all very much.
Thanks for coming.
Good morning again.
You're back.
I'm back. Oh, this chair feels like well, we're here to talk about a wonderful opportunity for the county and to let you know what all our plans are for going forward. This year at Southeast Service Cooperative, had an opportunity to redistribute some funds, and as a member of that board, we determined to do that by back to our municipal members by way of grants for the sole purpose of wellness in the workplace. Because as you know, this year we were able to have a 0% increase in our health cost as far as premiums. That isn't purely coincidental. That's based upon when rates are set. The rates are based on past usage, not only in the amount of times the healthcare is actually accessed, but also whether or not it was for major incidents. And you don't always have the ability to predict, well, you'd never have the ability of predicting whether or not an individual is going to have a tap into health benefits, in excess of, say, $50,000 per year, but we were able to control that. So in short, the county, I came back and talked with Mary, and we determined, and she did a considerable amount of work in putting together a program that addressed the multiple criteria that the SSC requested as far as a multifaceted approach to employee wellness. And initially, we were told we could get up to $17,500 a year. As of yesterday, we were informed we actually, for this year I should say, were awarded a single grant of $17,690. They had a little more money, and we're very pleased to see they passed it our way.
For 2015?
For 2015 going forward. Mary's going to present the details of what the plan is, but I will say that the programs we're looking at, many of them are going to be delivered during work hours while our employees are here. I feel that this is economically appropriate for the county to do. The hours aren't that many. I think we estimated about 10 on site for the full year for any one employee. We're highly encouraging department heads to send their employees to this. The economic benefits of having a well workforce accrue not only to the county in the form, as I state here, in moderating or reducing the cost of increased health benefit cost, which we just talked about a little bit, but also there are direct measurements on productivity. There is plenty of literature out there over the years, not just anecdotal in recent times, that these economic benefits are real. Not only is this evidenced by fewer sick days, but lower mental fatigue. I like to say if we really take an approach to a holistic approach to our employee wellness, which is emotional, mental, physical, nutritional, that this is akin to sending someone to yoga, for instance, physical yoga. That increases our flexibility physically. Good holistic approach, which includes mental health or mental wellness, if you will. Not necessarily from a mental health perspective, but as Mary's going to talk about, just from a overall wellness approach, adds to our mental flexibility, if you will. Their lower mental fatigue leads to higher critical thinking, problem solve, less negativity. And let me say this about negativity. There have been, in a rather recent survey of businesses throughout the United States, both public as well as private. Negativity in the workplace, office politics, or whatever you might want to call it, or just stubbornness, leads to about $1 billion worth of losses to this country annually. These are things we can measure. So it was with that in mind that I wholly support, as the HR director, this program being conducted, excluding the physical aspects of it, for the physical exercise, being conducted during work time, on the workplace, on the work site. Mary?
Well, actually, we're really excited to think that we can make some lifestyle changes here and really incentivize our employees to kind of lean in to a wellness program. Probably something that's been a little lacking, but nonetheless, this is a great opportunity, I think, for us to invest in our employees' health with these new resources that are available to us. I think our intention is to make this be such an awesome pilot project that we can hope that we can continue in garnering some dollars as we move forward through the years. So we have put a lot of energy and effort into doing some research and looking at kind of, again, that look forward about what are we thinking is going to happen in the future. I was at at a meeting just last week, and there was a futurist, I guess I would call him a futurist, a doc from Mayo, that was talking about the future of healthcare and the pursuit of much more aggressive wellness worksite programs to be really effective and worthwhile endeavors. He was talking about the fact by 2018, some of the likely trends with regards to affordable care, that we can certainly anticipate that we're going to have high deductible plans. There's going to be a lot more retail models for purchasing health care. Likely, I mean, he was touting 1/3 of the population buying health insurance from an exchange. And he was also anticipating that there was going to be significant and an increased demand for wellness and prevention programming. So I feel like we are right on the cusp of, again, anticipating what's going to happen in the future. And our employees are going to need to get more savvy about their health savings accounts due to just the shift of high deductibles. And so this is really one way for us, I think, as a county to support our employees, to support our health, to support their health. I've looked to see just kind of, you can find all kinds of return on investment information that's out there, studies that have been done with regards to worksite wellness and programs. I guess one of the most, probably I guess I'll give you the low bar of what I found, but in the recent analysis and study with regards to medical costs, they are saying that $3.27 for every dollar spent on work site wellness reduces medical costs by that $3.27. Primarily because what it's doing is it's lowering the efforts that you target towards cardiovascular risk. Whatever you can do to reduce incidence of cardiovascular disease, cardiovascular risk, really, really pays off in our health insurance premiums, employee lost productivity, everything. The program that we're kind of put together, and this is a work in progress, and I would say that as we, pending board approval, we know that we've got the money coming in, that we would begin to communicate with department heads. Employees would certainly have to get authorization from their department head in order to attend any of these programs or presentations that we're looking at doing. The dollars cannot be spent on staff time. So our time is not part of this. We're not getting paid, so to speak, to do this. We have to go outside of ourselves to bring in presenters or initiatives that we're going to do. So we really look to model this, and what in my research found that the most successful models are really those that support both behavioral and cognitive strategies. So that's how we've kind of designed this. We're looking at what is it that we can do to incentivize and get our employees to be more active in fitness and in physical exercise. So we've talked to our our vendor here in town about what is it that we can do and work with them to incentivize to get employees at least to take a month's worth and see if this is something that you think that you can lean into and sign up for yourself. We're also looking at bringing in a presenter to talk about, and this is nothing, it's probably perhaps new and something that hasn't been a lot of exposure to employees, but just complementary and integrative medicine and how that really works in the bigger all picture. You know, it isn't all about pharmaceuticals, there's lots of other ways, but employees need to be introduced to that and they need to kind of figure that out for themselves. Is that a fit or is that not a fit? As well as behavior and cognitive changes. We're looking at really where do true behavioral change come from. It's an inside out, it isn't an outside in. I mean, you can talk to me until you're blue in the face and try to get me to change my mind about things, but that is the gift of free will, and the bottom line is it's my choice. And so in pointing people in that whole idea of both behavioral and cognitive kinds of things, as well as we want to integrate some of the things that we already do offer to the public, as well as we want to showcase those for our employees: blood pressure checks, smoking cessation resources, and immunizations. Any of the things that we're looking at doing with these dollars, particularly with regards to nurses and social workers, we can have those be for continuing education units. So it's kind of twofold. It's a win-win in that idea. So anything that they participate, if it's an hour long or 2 hours long, they can get CEUs for that, so that should help with some of our training costs. And then the last piece that we think is really cool is we know that Mayo Franciscan Health has something that's called their mobile teaching kitchen. And it's actually a kitchen that's in a truck, and they just have it, and they're just starting to do some kind of cool things with their chef, bringing them on site. And we want to see what we can do about really introducing some new ideas for our employees. There's lots of special diets out there: low carb, low sodium, diabetic diets, gluten-free diets, but healthy cooking. And they, you know, it is our desire and our wish, as well as theirs, to figure out how we can bring them on site, perhaps to do something over the noon hour for employees, maybe this winter yet, and then again in the spring when there's local and fresh produce. So those are kind of a high level breakdown of some of the things that we're looking at, and we're certainly open to questions. And you can participate too.
So how?
So we use public comment period for exercise?
So so like you're gonna offer it at different times, so like one whole department wouldn't be
Exactly,
missing.
exactly. So if we bring in a presenter, we would say, we'd like for you to do it 10 to 12 and then 1 to 3, so that the departments can take advantage of that without shorting their office, if they so choose. Absolutely.
From a historical perspective, looking at some of our payouts on health care, you know, one of the things that really drives our health care cost are treatments for cancer, as well as for heart-related cardiovascular. Those are two things we know for a fact. And so just that alone, if we can limit, if we're not looking at this from a human perspective, but just from a purely economical perspective. Actually, I have heard, seeing I don't have them in front of me, quotes on for every dollar you spend, you get it twofold back. Every dollar you spend in health prevention education, you get it twofold back in return on investment in your for your cost of your human capital in the workplace, if you will, putting it on a purely economical perspective. So I think for a lot of reasons, we may not see direct economical impact to the degree that is highly measurable in the first year, but certainly you have to start somewhere, and it is something we can measure going forward.
And has this been talked to the department heads about?
No, the timeline was pretty tight on this.
Very tight.
It was very tight.
When the grant opened up to when we had to respond.
I just think that it's really good to get your department heads on board and get their feeling for
Absolutely.
when they can let their
Yep.
employees.
Absolutely. But
So
what
is the
I
grant
thought.
money used for the speakers or the instructors
Kitchen,
or?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep, yep, absolutely. What our thinking was, Commissioner Storley, was that we would, pending board approval of this, that we would communicate with our department heads via an email, give them kind of a whole outline of what it is that we're planning. Then we'd like, during the month of December, especially when there's all kinds of goodies and treats all over, to invite employees to come to our work wellness, our, what do we call those? Lunch and learns, thank you, our lunch and learns, and really showcase it to employees so that they can kind of, the new year, there's always kinds of resolutions that people are always up for, and it's a really good time to hit this hard. So we would have several lunch and learns during the course of December, roll it out to employees and department heads, but certainly to department heads first, and make sure that employees understand that this is at the discretion of the department head. They have to have authorization to be able, the on-time, not the physical portion of this, but the on-time county time, they have to go through their department head to get authorization.
And I would think that even though everybody's not going to be able to attend every session, that there would be, the goal is to spur ongoing conversation over the topic of overall wellness. It is true, you are what you eat. You need to make wise choices that way, and it's not simply just looking at sugar content and fat content. People need to be more educated in it than that. And
So what exactly are you asking of us today?
well, because this is going to involve working with department heads and asking that employees be released to go to these sessions, we would like board backing, if you will. And also, since this is a formal grant, we don't have the letter in front of us yet. It hasn't come. We want to let you know that will be coming forth, and that we will be asking, is my understanding, that we have to get board approval to accept those funds. And so I assume that might be at the next week's meeting.
So can we at this time just do a consensus of the board to support this? I mean, I would be in favor of
Oh, yeah.
going forward this and have a complete consensus of the
We
board.
need a motion for the grant, though, to accept the grant?
When it comes.
When it gets
When
here.
we get the formal
Okay.
grant, we will, which
I think it's a
is
great
this week.
program.
It may even be, a letter might even come today, actually.
Would they give you something for your cough?
Yeah, with all these public health people here, why am I feeling so awful?
Well, and honestly, we would love it if you would participate with us and, come to some of the sessions that we offer and check it out. And I think as we move forward, if it looks like we're going to be able to have access to more dollars, at some point it would be nice to maybe even have a committee countywide, so that it isn't just public health always having to figure out how to get people incentivized, but we've got lots of folks in the county that have great ideas, not just our ideas, but because of these timelines, we did have to come up with something pretty dynamic and pretty fast. But
And actually, we were informed late yesterday that, again, I think, Mary, you say you set the bar for that. You may be presenting the plan at the SSC's Winter Wellness Forum. They've asked us to consider
SSC?
that.
Southeast Service Cooperative.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
great.
Good job. Thank you. Thanks, you guys in the back, too.
Yes, thank you.
From now on, we're going to bring a bunch of chairs when you guys come, so you can all sit up here.
Hey, Shar, do you want to call break? You want to go with reports and then?
Okay, let's do commissioner reports. Dana?
I had a planning and zoning meeting Thursday night, and next week we will be getting the results of that planning and zoning meeting for our approval. So,
For next week, or when?
or we meet next week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week.
When we passed it last Thursday night, meeting comes to the board. Two meetings after we do it.
Okay,
That's on the way.
okay.
That's all I had.
Yesterday, Teresa and I were at the study committee meeting, or ordinance writing committee, so kind of already talked about that, but that'll be being brought forward next week, so.
Okay, I just had the AFSMI meeting. You were at that
Oh, yeah,
also,
that's right. Yeah,
AFSMI
had
and
about
and
that.
the shop facility tour. That's all I had.
Didn't have anything exciting.
Supposed to go to tourism, but too sick.
No, not tourism. I
Oh, no,
had,
Bluff Country.
I had a meeting yesterday for Bluff Country, not the tourism.
Bluff Country
HRA,
HR,
yes.
yeah.
And I couldn't go, I was too sick. So that was gonna be by phone if they needed me, but everything went good.
Good.
And I, as Justin stated, went to the Praxin study group. Okay, Rick, why don't we discuss a little bit on the vacancies on the planning commission and the board of adjustment, right?
Let me just start in on this. We've
Okay.
got, from what people have been sending my way, it sounds like several names being come forward here. I guess one of the things I was wondering, or maybe needs to be discussed, is, and maybe this did this ever go out as a public notice for vacancies, or do we need to post this for equal opportunity type deal?
We never have it.
Okay.
It's an appointment thing.
Sure. Because of having numerous people, I'm wondering, do we need to do something kind of like what we did last time and have
Personnel committee
yeah, just
interview?
kind of do some interviews or something, just sit down and talk. And if so, timelines and what we're going to do for that, I guess, is maybe kind of some of that discussion. And I know Rick wanted to be a part of that, obviously, since it's
We
part of
usually
their
make our
department.
appointments at first meeting in January to the
Yep.
board.
Yep.
So,
So just wondering if we should have a deadline of December 1st, if anybody's interested, to be in, and then have interviews right before Christmas and be able to come to the board with recommendations the last week of December so that they can be appointed at our first meeting, or timelines. What do you think?
yeah, we would have to do it by that time, I would say.
Because you've got one board of adjustment and 2 planning commission
Correct.
members to appoint.
Correct.
And I just don't want to get caught with being not a quorum. We
Yep.
don't have enough members sitting there, and I guess that's why I kind of want to make sure that we're on a timetable here.
Yep. And I guess, does that sound decent if we do that and just say by December 1st, anybody interested needs to have their name in? I guess I've been telling a few people that have asked, and I said, get it to Shar, just you're kind of the liaison to the board or whatever, but, we'll compile those names, maybe that first week. I guess we'll be gone that first Tuesday, will we not? AMC stuff, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that second Tuesday, we can have the names and set up
Is it just an option here? Can the personnel committee, can we go through those
Yep.
maybe and then
Yep.
before?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's the way I was thinking. I thought,
Yeah.
I've been telling everybody that contacts me, which is 2 people,
Yep.
to contact you, and that I was giving
Yep.
their number to you and Steve.
Yep.
So I've done the
To
same
take
thing
care.
on my side there.
Yep.
District time.
And let the personnel committee meet with Rick and with the names and
Yeah, and I
set
think if
up
Rick and Steve and myself and Tess, and we can kind of go through some of that stuff that
Yeah.
work for you.
Yep.
And maybe if we have everybody's name in by December 1st, we'll just, put a date, whatever date that is. And then we can just meet that first week. I know some of the board will be gone, AMC conference and stuff like that. But I'm sorry, that's the second week.
Yeah.
That's right. So maybe meet that first.
Could we probably sit down? Are you going to interview the whole, I don't know how many names or nothing you got.
Well, that's what
Are
we
you
got to
gonna-
figure out
We
as
have
who's
two
all
from my
there.
district.
So
That's what I'm wondering. Can you,
Yep.
both of you and
Sure.
I meet just to
Yep.
kind of go through the names? And
Yeah.
Yep, let's do that. Let's put the names. I guess here. Let me look at what is the.
Couldn't you guys just meet
Their-
right
Their first
Before
meeting will be the
meeting?
22nd of January.
Before the meeting?
The new
before our
members.
meeting?
Before the board? We have committee. don't we?
No, you're going to have hearings already for the draft Praxan ordinance and stuff in there too, yet before their regular monthly meeting.
Before the 22nd of January.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's have the deadline. Have the deadline. All names must be submitted by December 1st. Okay.
Yes.
Steve and Rick and I, let's meet. Would you be able to meet just sometime that first week and kind of go through the names and stuff, and then we can start talking about after we go through that, maybe the
Like I
timeline
said,
for an interview.
definitely, I would like
Sure.
to get this,
Let's do that. Let's do the first, and we'll touch base on Tuesday and figure out a day that we
Okay.
can all meet, if it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever. We'll go through that, kind of get a timetable figured out for interviews, and then we'll get that set up, and then we'll have names to be able to submit to the board by the first part of January. Sound good?
just so, like I said, I just wanna make sure that we don't get caught, because like I said, you got the, you
Yep.
know, the public hearings for the frac,
Yep.
the mineral extraction ordinance and all that coming on.
We originally had that kind of put down for the 6th of January.
Right.
Yep.
And that's what I'm
For planning
saying, I don't
commission.
wanna get, I don't wanna get caught without a quorum and stuff,
Right.
you know, people sometimes go on vacations and stuff, we could get,
Sure, let's do that, and then we'll have it all done before Christmas, before the
that'd
break.
be,
So, okay,
okay.
sound good?
Thank you.
You bet.
Approval of the claims, Human Service and License Center.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims and Human Services and License Center disbursements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we need to discuss the proposed Selco contract, which Shar did send to us, the whole contract that we usually sign in December. They proposed it, actually brought in all the proposals last July.
Yeah.
So, and this is just the official acceptance of the contract, 3-year contract with them. Any discussion on that? I think you read, I also made a note when I read through the contract that they like a commissioner on that board also. And I know when I was a representative for La Crescent at the time, Ann Thompson was the commissioner from Houston County, because we would ride up together.
So when we do our,
Appointments,
Yeah.
we need to add that too, and I did make a note,
Okay.
I did make a note to
Okay,
Shar about
we'll do
that.
it then.
They meet in Rochester quarterly.
Let me ask you a quick question, not to put you on the spot. Because you've had experience with that, would you want to head that for that first year?
For that Selco
Yeah.
meeting, I'm very familiar with it.
Well, I'm just wondering, I mean, I know we can discuss it more in January, but you kind of know what's going on,
Yeah,
to kind of get everything up to speed.
and it's all southeast Minnesota. It's really a big organization, so they have people from all over.
Sure.
Every library can be represented, so yeah, it's a big,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be interested.
Yeah, well, and not that you have to make a
Yeah.
decision today, but I saw, you've got experience with that I don't think any of us do that.
I make a motion that we approve the Selco proposed contract.
I'd second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And actually, I heard just the opposite from what Robin said, that we are one of the top counties in supporting library services. In fact, they were so pleased that we approved the last 3-year contract, and so I've heard the opposite. We do
Oh, I
very
thought she
well with
said
our.
it was good.
Huh?
Did she say it wasn't good?
Yeah, she said
Oh,
we're
she
one
said
of the
it
lowest
was.
in the state, and we are not at all.
Oh, I thought she said it was, okay, I misheard what she said, so.
No. We do very good service with our libraries. Okay, consider reduction in the tax bracket, and that too, Shar gave us information on.
Anything else to add to that?
No, I think I outlined it all in the
Yeah.
memo.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved grant agreement for, opposed, okay, approved grant agreement with DNR for the Viking Ridge Riders equipment.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second?
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I already signed the paperwork for the annexation, and we did the variance. Wasn't there one other one too, Shar, did we?
On what?
There's somebody that just paid their,
Oh, yes, I'm hoping you will approve a disaster credit for Herman Gady. His home burned down a year ago, and he just moved back in, so he is eligible for a disaster credit in the amount of $55.90.
Motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next week, we're gonna have the department head meeting, which is Steve and I, because this week, we have a 1 o'clock meeting in Preston with Fillmore County Commissioners and Public Health, so. Anything else to come before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?